الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, continuing in the chapter of patience of the illustrious and most important of books, رياض الصالحين من كلام سيد المرسلين, authored by الحافظ الفقيه المحدث أبو زكريا يحيى ابن شرف النووي رحمه الله تعالى رحمة واسعة. يقول المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى: وقال تعالى: ولنبلونكم حتى نعلم المجاهدين منكم والصابرين. The final verse that he mentions as laying the foundations for the rest of the narrations that are going to be mentioned in this chapter is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala found in verse number 31 of Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, also known as Surah Al-Qital. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that which translates to, and indeed, verily, surely, we are going to test you all, so as to, and we will test you until we know and see who of you is striving and who of you are patient. What does this mean? We're going to test you until we know. حتى نعلم. الضمير المستتر هنا حتى نعلم نحن عائد إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى. فيكون معنى الكلام: ولنبلونكم حتى نعلم نحن المجاهدين منكم والصابرين. ألا يعلم الله سبحانه وتعالى المجاهدين من الصابرين دون أن يبتليهم? The question here that presents itself is, it's a curious choice of words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we are going to test you all with tribulations, with crises, with difficulties, with ease, with pleasure, with pain, until we see, until we know who of you is striving and who of you is truly patient. So what does that mean? Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not know who of us is of such character already? The answer is that knowledge here in this context is two types in the Quran. You have knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is al-ilm al-azali. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's infinite, timeless knowledge. Before He created, as He created, after He created, after He does away with the creation, He subhanahu wa ta'ala knew all that was, and knows all that is, and all that will be, and knows all that would be had things been, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this knowledge when He refers to writing in the preserved tablet, when He refers to His writing of all of the decree of what is to be until the day of judgment. بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ وعندنا الكتاب. So this here is the knowledge of the preserved tablet. However, knowledge of what was and is and will be is not the same as knowledge of something that happened. And that is why the companions radiyallahu anhum, such as Ibn Abbas, when they speak about these verses, حتى نعلم, يقول ابن عباس, حتى نرى. So we will test you until we see who of you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knows. However, He has not seen it yet, and Him seeing something and hearing something is what he rewards for. He does not reward a human being or punish a human being based on what he knows will happen. He rewards or punishes based on what he sees or hears happen, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibn Abbas, he, as At-Tabari rahimahullah and others mention, that knowledge here, what is meant by it, is knowledge of what has already happened. Knowledge of what has happened. Meaning, seeing. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees something happen, then he rewards, then he punishes, subhanahu wa ta'ala, accordingly. This is an important point, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, his infinite, timeless knowledge, is not what we are rewarded or punished for. Rather, it is his knowledge of us doing something that is in the past. That is what we are rewarded or punished for. That's number one. Number two, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions himself here, he mentions this along with the royal we. He doesn't say till I see, he says we. Who is we here in this type of context? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels of punishment, the angels of reward, the angels of paradise, the angels of the hellfire, the angels that write the deeds. They are all going to see what the human being does, including the believers, including the disbelievers, including the human being himself. He sees of himself what is. And so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who of us is truly striving and who of us is patient. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all of those who are truly striving and truly patient. He knows that. We don't know that. And until we know this, and until he sees this, we cannot be rewarded or punished for that. This also tells us, this verse also tells us, and there's others like it, the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, the reason we have difficulty in our lives. Sometimes people ask a very silly question. They say things like, if Allah wants us to be good, why didn't he just create us good? Well, then what did we earn in doing that? What is majestic or great about a creation that doesn't earn its rank? What's so special about that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, لو أردنا أن نتخذ لهوا لاتخذناه من لدنا. He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have not created the heavens and the earth out of sport, as an amusement, to play. We're not playing here. If we wanted to observe a sport or some kind of entertainment, we would have done this with other creatures that are closest to us, meaning the highest ranking of angels. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only wanted to observe and be entertained, ta'ala Allah, he subhanahu wa ta'ala is above being benefited by his creation. But hypothetically speaking, if sport was the purpose of the creation, there are much better creatures than you and I for such entertainment. Look at the misery that human beings put each other through. Look at the spilled blood. Look at the horrors and terrors that creep and roam the earth. This is not any kind of entertainment but for the sadistic. No. The purpose of this creation is not only for us to become better, but for us to earn, for us to grow. He creates a creation that is weak and small and helpless, and he gives it its tools, and it builds itself up through his help, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the closest a human being or any creation can be to independence as possible. And so the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates us in a deficit is in order for us to earn through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, what's the point of creating us, automatically creating us perfect, creating us in the way that we should strive for? There's no growth there. There's no earning. We don't learn anything by that. And that is the whole point of our existence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. He says, successful are those who grow and purify their souls. Az-zakah in the Arabic language means two things at the same time: purity and growth. Zakah and numu wa tahara. قد أفلح من زكاها أي قد أفلح من نماها وطهر نفسه. هذا معنى الآية. The one who is successful is the one who grows his spirit and purifies his spirit. How do we do that? Through revelation and through hardship. That's the way we grow. We do that through knowledge and implementation. That's why Allah gives us examples in the Quran always with fire and water, with revelation and hardship. They go hand in hand. The human being grows. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى بمنه وكرمه وجوده أن ينفعنا جميعا وأن يزكي نفوسنا وأن يطهرها سبحانه وتعالى. هو خير من زكاها، هو وليها ومولاها، والله أعلم، وصلى الله وسلم